Recording. Okay. Welcome, everyone. This is the Next Level Firms Group Q&A call, February 21st, 2017. Andrew Argue here. It's been like a crazy day. I did a live webinar, and then we got the Q&A call. I'm excited today to answer a ton of questions. And really, for anybody that's new this week, I mean, really how these calls go is, at the beginning, I will jump in and do any announcements or updates to the program and the materials, the processes that we're using. And then after that, we just jump right into Q&A. And so for today, I don't have any major updates at this point, so let's just jump right into Q&A. For the Q&A, really, if you have a question and you want to ask it out loud, unmute yourself, we'll talk it out. Just say, hey, I have a question. I'll unmute you, we'll hop on, hash it out. If you are in a noisy place or we got 17 kids in the background or we're sitting at a Starbucks or something like that, just go ahead and type the question in the chat and I will do my best to answer it there. So let's go ahead and get these things started. If anybody has any questions, let me know in the chat. We have Alex, Angel, Bernice, Candy, and baby Sophia, Caroline, Danielle, Dahan, Greg, Jeff, Ketley, Christina, Laura, Lydia, Mike, Pam, and Tanya. All right, who has questions for today? Just let me know in the chat. I will get you unmuted, or I will answer your question in the chat, and we will kick this thing off. All right, Tanya. You can unmute yourself whenever you're ready.
Hey, Andrew, how you doing?
Oh, good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I have a question for you. So my niche area is beauty industry professionals, and so like salon owners, barbers, stylists, things of that nature. And I've been reaching out to the salon owners. Do you think it's a good idea to still reach out to like the beauty schools because they have a warm market relationship with the salon owners directly, and I was thinking that could be another avenue to add to what I'm doing. Do you think that's a good idea to go about that? And what do you think would be the best way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess, yeah, in your mind, do you want to mostly be doing monthly recurring accounting services or like financial coaching and bookkeeping training?
Financial coaching and bookkeeping training. I don't want to do any of the actual bookkeeping or accounting services for these clients.
Got you. Okay.
I want to just strictly do the coaching and see the biggest problem that I'm running with these people in this industry is they don't think they need an accountant. So I recognize on the front end that I will have to do a lot of kind of awareness to let them know, like, no, you really do need one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think in that case, if you do want to do more of the training and the coaching and the setups, then yeah, I think the school could be a great place for people that are just starting their business, whether it's the salon or it's really even if they're running a chair.
Right.
I've had a lot of people do the financial coaching for people that just run a chair because those people generally only make somewhere between 70 and 150, 200 a year if they're a good one. Really a great one. Yeah, so I think in that case, because of that, if you were just going after the monthly recurring services, I would say no, probably not, because we want to just go for the salon owners. But if you want to do the coaching and the training, absolutely. I think for the starters, that'd be a great one.
Okay. And do you think so? I guess in my head, I was thinking reaching out to maybe the career placement. Would that be the people that I would reach to market to, so that I can talk to the schools and stuff to directly reach out to those people? Or do you know?
The best people to reach out to are the clients themselves. Absolutely, hands down.
Okay.
Yeah, but here and there, getting in touch with the schools or whatever is totally fine. But 90% of what we should do is not, referral sources and everything. That's good, and you do want to nurture those and everything, and that's totally fine. But in terms of getting a direct response, a direct meeting, a direct appointment, a direct client, the best way is to ask them.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think she might have been in a wind tunnel there. We had a little bit of that background noise. That was quite good. Hope you're all right. All right, who else has questions? Just let me know in the chat, and we'll get you unmuted. How does one charge for the coaching, Jeff said. Yeah, so typically, remember, real high level here, if someone is doing, let's say, 500 grand a year plus, 500K a year plus, 500K per year plus in terms of sales, I'm instantly going to be thinking about them as a monthly recurring accounting client where we're going to be doing accounting services for them. That's kind of going to be my default position. We might not do that. They might only need tax work, right? But if they're doing less than 500,000 a year in sales, then I'm going to be thinking more about the training and the coaching because they really can't afford very much on a monthly basis. I mean, every once in a while you can squeak somebody at like 400 a month for 400K a year for like 600 a month, but it's rare. And so I'm going to be thinking about the coaching. Now for the coaching, really what's involved in the coaching? Well, it depends. I mean, some people really get intense with it and start a whole program, which we talk about in the bonus section. But really what it is it's basically like the setup, teaching them to do it themselves. By that I mean the bookkeeping, running a monthly cash P&L, looking at AR and AP, reconciling transactions, running their own QuickBooks file on an ongoing basis, what to pay themselves, what to set aside for taxes, what to do or how to run AR and process payments and apply payments, and making sure that they have the right tax structure in place. So, and I go through this in detail in week 7, but really, or in the bonus section, but really, I recommend pretty standard pricing for the training and the coaching. I don't recommend anything less than $2,500. So really that's kind of like, let's do this, bing. I don't like to do anything less than $2,500. So why is that? Well, it's just because dealing with anyone for less than $2,500 when it's that type of work is just hard to make it worth it. So yeah, I'd like to see at least $2,500, but what some people will do too is like if there's a really good situation with them, like let's say you can help them a lot on the tax side, they'll kind of include tax planning in that as well and do it at $3,500 or $4,500. Some people charge as much as $6,500 for the bookkeeping training. But I think starting, I wouldn't do it less than $2,500. And I would look at the pricing as two factors. One, whatever you believe in and are comfortable with as high as possible, because price doesn't really matter that much for these things. It's more about what you believe and how much value you think you're providing to the client. And number two is there some other saving, whether it's time or money, tax or accounting, that's huge, where we can go to $3,500, $4,500. And in the beginning, a lot of people just do this one-on-one with clients. Like they don't even make a program or anything crazy like that. They just do one-on-one coaching. I meet with them 4 to 6 times, help them get their QuickBooks file set up, import bank feeds, show them how to reconcile transactions, set up chart of accounts, what to pay themselves, what to set aside for taxes, all the basics. And they can run that for years. And instead of paying someone $200, $300, $400, $500 a month for years, they're doing it themselves. And really a small business owner, I recommend personally, for anybody in here, you should be doing your own books. Everybody in here should be doing their own books. I think there's no reason to do your own books or to not do your own books if you're doing less than $1 million a year in sales. It's crazy. You need to feel everything, and they really should too, especially when they're less than $500 a year. So I actually philosophically think it makes sense, but then for you guys providing services, it really just monthly recurring at $200 a month, it just will suck the life right out of you. You can't even take a phone call for that. Yes, Jeff wants to unmute. Jeff, you are unmuted. Oh, you unmuted yourself, and then I think I unmuted you. I just unmuted you. How's it going?
Okay, how are you?
Doing good.
So just to follow up on that, you mentioned $2,500 for a few services you just kind of mentioned, basically setting them up to do it themselves. So you know how clients are. I mean, they're constantly going to be having questions throughout the year. How do you sort of put a stop to that, so that they realize it's not like an ongoing thing forever? And, sometimes
it can be,
they can drive you crazy.
Yeah, but there's two options. I mean, number one is you make a clear stop and you say, look, we're going to work together for a month and get this thing set up. Okay, boom. But the other thing is, I mean, if you're going to do the annual business tax, I think that's totally fine. I mean, and you say, look, I'll give you email support for the year as long as we do, $500 of the $1,500 now as a deposit to make sure you're going to be a tax client for the end of the year. And then it's like ticky tack stuff, and if it gets to be a big problem, then you kind of have to sit down with them and confront them.
Right.
But yeah, I think and by the way, like we talked about before, don't answer your phone. Make sure you respond to everything via email. But I think, look, if they're willing to do a deposit down for the next year's tax, and they might have a couple of questions about taxes throughout the year, that's fine. If they start needing you to do a QuickBooks cleanup at the end of the year because they decided not to do any of this, then yeah, of course, obviously we're going to have to talk about doing the cleanup in addition to the prep work.
Right.
But yeah, I would say it's just about the expectations up front, and then if they do want to be able to ask you a couple questions, make sure we just get a deposit for the year-end tax work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because quite often when you let clients do their own books, what I find usually happens is, they have no accounting background. They're not accountants. It's time consuming for them. So I find out when they give me their books at the end of the year, it's like a total mess, and it would have been a lot more efficient if I had just done it to begin with, as opposed to spending the extra time to clean it up.
Yeah, but the
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the problem is like at the end of the day, you have to be there for yourself first before you have to be there for your micro clients.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
look, at the end of the day, I mean, here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, you'd want to charge them $500 a month minimum to work with them. That's $6,000 a year. So if you end up charging them right now $2,500 for the training, and then you end up charging them another $2,000 for the cleanup at the end of the year because they decided that they didn't want to take the initiative that they agreed they wanted to when they went through the training, well, guess what? They ended up paying about the same that they pay you anyway. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but the problem is if you talk to someone that's doing $250 a year and you try to get them to pay you $6,000 a month, they're never going to do it because they simply can't afford it. And I wouldn't recommend that they do it. But if they want to work with someone who's quality, that's fine. Now, what they're probably going to do is they're going to go down to the street to some crap bookkeeper who's willing to take $200 a month, which isn't everybody.
Right.
I mean, there are some good people that do $200 a month that just don't know. But then what they do is they resent the client. So the whole relationship gets warped if you take the client and you just sacrifice the fees because you start to resent them and then you really don't give them the attention they deserve anyway. So, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, honestly, if all of us, everybody on this call, there's 23 people, if all of us worked on the account of one client that was doing $200,000 a year and we all did it for $200 a month, that client would probably get an unbelievable experience. But I mean, we're not going to do that. That's absurd. Might as well jump off a cliff.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, of course, if we put in more time and attention than we're worth, they would get a better experience. But, I mean, I care first and foremost about you guys, about the value that you're charging, the profitability of your practice, and only secondarily to the clients. Look, the clients come and go. You have to live your life forever.
Right. Okay. I understand. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, some people don't want to hear that. They think that's harsh. But the reality is that's how everybody ends up doing it anyway. Even if they want to have a bleeding heart and come in here and tell the story. It's like, no, at the end of the day, everybody wants a good deal for themselves and wants a good deal for their client, wants everybody to be on the same page. So, yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, they'd end up paying probably the same or less anyway. Now, where they would get the best is if Jeff, in this example, did $200 a month for the whole year. And that's great for them, but I mean, then you hate your company and your life. So why is it them over you? Should never be. It should be a win-win. And when it's not a win-win and where someone is sacrificing, whether a client's paying way too much on fees and they shouldn't be, or the accountant's doing way too much work and they're not getting paid for it, then it's not a good fit, period. The coaching gives us a way to make it a good fit for small micro businesses that still want to work with someone who's good and work with them in a way that like they're actually going to get a good person. So yeah, I hope that helps provide a little bit of background for people. Yes, Mike has a question. Mike, you are unmuted on my side.
So Andrew, I got a couple questions. One of them has to do with LinkedIn. I cannot for the life of me find the pending connection requests.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it in your wife's training video, and every once in a while, like it'll pop up when I'm in LinkedIn or when I'm in Sales Navigator, but I can't find it.
Just pasted it in the chat. It's also in, I believe, week 4. Let me show you just for ongoing reference for anybody. Let me see, week 4. Bang, bang. Right here, week 4, step 1. Link to see everyone you've ever sent a connection request to but hasn't responded.
Oh, wow.
Bam.
Okay.
I mean, that's fine. There's a lot of these little links in here for LinkedIn. The thing is that I honestly don't even know where they are on LinkedIn anymore. I only know about this link because they've changed the link so many darn times, and then they've changed the buttons to get to the link so many darn times. I don't even know how to get there. If you go to LinkedIn right now, say, Andrew, could get this thing. I don't know how. I only know how to use that link. But yeah, this is where some of those main links are in LinkedIn, like how to export connections, link to see pending requests.
Yeah, yeah, because I just went to that link, and it's just so weird. I spent at least 20 minutes on LinkedIn looking for it. I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's got to be easier to find. So
no worries, just post in the group next time. I mean, nothing should take, if anything takes somebody more than 5-15 minutes, just post in the Facebook group.
Okay, cool. The other question I had, okay, so I'm doing the financial coaching, and I haven't gone ahead to look. I went ahead and looked at the bonus financial coaching part. I did look at that stuff, but what about the delivery? Are there like templates, and these are the statements that you need to deliver to your people that you're teaching on how to do these financial statements? And I say that also because I looked at Denitha's stuff, and it seems like she's doing kind of a combo of things to include how to raise your fees and stuff like that. Anyway, so there's a question in there, but I want to know if, from a financial coaching perspective, what are the things that we would have to deliver?
Well, I mean, if you look in the program, like week 6 through 8, we do go through the bookkeeping and how to set up a QuickBooks file and everything. So you can take some inspiration from that if you want. But if you want to go that route, and if that is the kind of program that you want, and that's the way you want to work with people, is for getting them to finally get set up, getting them to manage their business and their personal, it really depends. That's why I do leave the financial coaching a little bit open, because it's more about the niche that you choose and the level of people in that niche. Are you going to work with people in the wellness industry that are you going to just work with them on the business? Are you also going to work with them on their personal life? And if you're going to, so are you going to go both of those? That's one question. Okay, then are you going to work with people that are already established or people that are just getting started? Yeah, and so that's something that's why I want to see an outline of really, that's the first step. Before we create any program materials and we figure out, okay, what we need to do, we just have to get the outline together and say, hey, this is really an outline of what this person really needs at their stage of life and in the niche.
Yeah. Well, I know that, and there's stuff that I do now, and where I've helped people, look at charging more for what they do, and I kind of do all that already. I approach, what's going on, how can I help based on where you're at, and if it's in your business raising fees, things like that. It's just the whole bookkeeping side of it has never been part of it, which I think is amazing. And by the way, I want to give you kudos and thank you, because my wife and I have really dug in on the personal finance and doing reports and looking at expenses, and just really every day dialing in, and it's made a tremendous impact for us. So I like that. Anyway, that helps. It just says, hey, what are you good at? How can you help these people? And then put an outline together based on that.
Yeah,
essentially, right?
Exactly. And the outline is the first place to start, and then we can figure it out. But look, a lot of people think, oh, but helping people structure pricing, that's not what accountants do. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. What about construction companies where they help with job costing, right? Well, that's basically helping them figure out how to price future jobs and seeing all the labor and all the expenses that would go to a job like that and figuring out how they should price it. People that are accountants help clients how to price things across the board. Or at least they should be, when it makes sense and when they can help clients. A lot of times people will work with service companies, help them figure out profitability by client, and then that'll help them figure out and scope a new project or engagement based on the past ones and the current needs and desires. People do that stuff all the time. So yeah, I mean, look, pricing is a big piece of the accounting, and really knowing the niche and knowing, well, that can be one thing that you help with if that's a problem that they're having. It doesn't have to be a lot. Some people do financial coaching and don't do that. They just stick straight to the financials and the managing and the setup and the training. And then some people go more on mindset, more on the personal side, more on pricing for the business. It depends on what the niche needs more than anything else, really.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
Absolutely. All right. Who else has questions for today? Just let me know in the chat, and I will get you unmuted. All right, Jeff. Jeff, you are unmuted on my side whenever you get a chance.
Hi.
Hey.
So I'm in the process now where I'm having a little bit of difficulty in managing the day-to-day operations of first sending out the connections, realizing who's connected to you, then following up and sending out the emails to people, and then realizing who, responds, and then trying to set up the strategy sessions. So I'm just wondering if you have like a method for trying to manage all that, because I'm kind of new to it, but I'm just wondering, does it just take time to get comfortable with it, or is there a certain method to try and, manage and stay organized with it?
Yeah, well, it's simpler than you think. So let's go through a high level. So we got Monday, right? Monday, let's just do the days of the week real quick. See if I can get out of this. Monday, let's do this. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. So here's the days of the week, right? Let's just assume we're only doing this 5 days a week. So every day of the week, let's say we're doing, 50 to 100 connections, whatever it ends up being. Let's say we do that. Could be 4 days a week, could be 5 days a week, could be 3 days a week. It really just depends on your metrics and your projections and what you're trying to do, type of clients you're looking to work with, how many clients you want to bring on. Let's just say we did it every single day of the week. Okay. So we're doing that every single day of the week. Well, I only recommend that one day of the week, do you export the connections, sort, and send the emails. Right? So that's just Tuesdays, one day of the week. And when you do that, you send them, and the only people you care about are the ones that respond and say they want a meeting. That's it.
Right.
Everybody else, forget about them. Who cares? So it's like, you don't need to track everything. You just need to track what matters. The rest of it, you can just let it fall off. It's not like we need to know, exactly who responded and who didn't, who connected and who didn't. I don't care about any of that. I just want to know who replied to my outreach and wanted to set up an appointment. So that's the biggest thing. And if you just do the same thing every day of the week in terms of the connections, and just one day a week you export, sort, send the emails, and it automatically will send them. Like it automatically will send them on Tuesday, or Thursday, then the next Tuesday, the next Thursday. And then literally all you do is just that. And the number of people that you meet with, if you do want to manage that, because some people do want to manage that, like, okay, I talked to this person, they said no. I talked to this person, we have a follow-up. I talked to this person, they're on deposit. I talked to this person, they said yes. I'd be more than happy to send you a tool in the program that we use. It's called Streak. I actually took the Streak training out, but it's pretty sweet. Here, I'll kind of see if I can show you. I think this is the example one I used. Yeah. So this is kind of it. It's like LinkedIn connection, entered into GMass, strategy session scheduled, negotiating, closed lost, closed won, or a future potential client. This is all in Gmail.
What is this like?
Do you use Gmail or Outlook?
I use Outlook.
Yeah, Pipedrive. I mean, there's other solutions, but this is basically saying like, where is the person in the pipeline? I used to put this in the training. The reason why I took it out, and if anybody wants this, you just shoot me an email and you say, send me the Streak training. It's called Streak, just like that. The reason why I took it out.
Is this only for Gmail?
This is only for Gmail, but the same thing is, if you want to use one for Outlook, there's a company called Base CRM. It's the same thing. The reason why I took these out of the training is because people were spending all this time trying to get these things set up. And I'm like, guys, it doesn't matter that much. Like in the beginning, you don't need to worry too much about the tracking. You just need to look at the one. But then over time, people want it. So if anybody asks for the training, I send them the Streak training. Base CRM is another great example. But I don't want people to do another app and another setup and another. So that's why I took it out of the training for that reason. But I'm more than happy to send it to anybody. But yeah, I mean, really, when it goes back to it, though, like I said, it's just on Tuesdays doing the emailing, and then only worrying about the people that respond, and all others don't worry about.
Okay, so even the people that respond, saying that they're interested, I mean, I send them an email back and just kind of say, all right, when are you available this week, or should I be more specific and try and nail them down better?
Say, hey, great. how does Wednesday at 2, 4, or Thursday
Right.
at noon and
Right.
6 work? Yeah, you want to give them 3 or 4 times so
Okay.
they just have to respond once with one quick response.
Right.
And
As
then you
opposed
say,
to going back and forth.
exactly, you say that, and then you say, and what number should I call? And then they respond, they give you the number, you have their email, you send email, calendar invite, number, time, done.
Okay.
That is the best way to do it.
Yeah. Okay, because even the connections, somehow you got to manage your connection, see who connected with you to realize who to send the emails to, right? I mean,
No, you already kind of
I
get
don't
that
know.
in the export. So the export has, like, if you take the old export versus the new export, we show you how to do that in week 4. I can even walk through that now. I think I did that last week.
Yeah, I know you were talking about that.
Yeah. Then it's really just any new connections for the week, and typically it's going to be anywhere from 50 to 400.
Right. All right. I mean, I think it just takes a little getting used to on my side because it's something I'm really just starting to do now and getting into the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah, I think, look, when you don't, like, I set it together, and that's why, like, a great example is, like, I took out Streak. I just took out everything. Like, I tried to strip down everything and make it as simple as possible. And because I just wanted people to be directly reaching out to ideal clients, telling them their story, how they could help them, getting responses, getting strategy sessions, rather than, oh, let's track every single thing and set up Streak and then set up, it's like, I just don't, I want to just focus on that. And then if anybody wants to set that up, I'll send them that training.
Right. Because you want to you don't want to just overthink stuff. You just want to jump into it and do all the important stuff.
Exactly. And so, I mean, and we can definitely walk through it as well. I mean, but yeah, this is kind of how I recommend doing it on a weekly or a monthly basis.
Okay. So you're saying every single day you should be doing the connections.
Yeah. The main reason is because it's like you could do 500 in a day, but LinkedIn probably lock your account.
Right.
And see, here's the thing too. A lot of people, what they do in the program is they do this themselves. And I recommend everyone do this themselves. And once you get it working, you know that the people you're connecting with are good. You know that your messaging is good. You're getting strategy sessions. Then you get a virtual assistant in here to do this thing. They $10 an hour. They do it for 4 hours a week. Done. That is really what a lot of people have done. But if you just try to pawn it off in the beginning before you really understand everything, it's hard to manage something you don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
So I recommend. So that's kind of the long-term plan: is like learn it yourself, and then and I have a virtual assistant that I've recommended to a number of people in the group. She's also is familiar with the training, like she has access to the training, and I think she charges like $9 or $10 an hour. She's from the Philippines, so yeah, she's great. And she's not affiliated with me at all. I just know her and recommend her clients sometimes when people ask. So yeah, that she works with a number of people to run their LinkedIn accounts.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. All right. I think we have. Yeah, Mike, you're up whenever you're ready.
Yep. So I just have a question about the ramp up. So I've been getting the LinkedIn thing down. I've got Navigator and all that working. I'm sending out invites. I'm doing 20 connection requests. I'm doing 2 pages, which I think is about 52 profile views a day. So 20 connection requests, 52 profile views a day. I'm itching to ramp that up. This is day 3, and it seems like Amanda, I didn't know what the time frame was before I started ramping up.
Double it tomorrow. Make it 50, and on the profile views, just do 400 tomorrow, and on the profile do 50, and then on the connections do 50. Yeah, and then on the connections the next day do 75, and the profile view 600. And I think you're fine.
Okay, so the profile views I did 50. You said tomorrow do how many? Did you say 400?
Yeah, 400, and then do 600 on Thursday. And then for the connections, do 50 and then 75. Yeah, I mean, look, the ramping up isn't that bad. Like, I think we've had a couple people have problems with it. Nothing that's been permanent. But yeah, I think you'll be fine.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. All right, John, whenever you are ready, you can unmute yourself on your side.
Thanks. Yeah. So I've been ramping up, and now I'm doing gosh, I guess about 500 connection requests a week, uh, and I'm getting last week I got 56 connections, and I'm wondering that seems lower than expected. Does that surprise you? I mean, I've been
Yeah, that is a lot lower. It's 10% after about a week, you said?
I've been at 500 for a couple weeks now, so
And,
I
and
feel
you've
like
only got 50 total?
no, I got 50 last week.
Oh, 50 a week. Okay. Yeah, so that's about 10%. So we really should be 30 to 40%. So a couple of things to look at to improve this rate. And so we got to try, you also want to try to track these kind of week by week so we can make improvements a little bit quicker. But the first thing is the message. I want to look at what that's saying. So if you could either paste that in the chat here or shoot me an email on it, I could look at it later. What is it that we're saying to them? Number two is, can we try to connect with second degree connections first? So if we can connect with a second degree connection first, then we can say, hey, like we've got common connections. And that's the reason that we're reaching out. Third thing I want to try is common groups. Common groups, common physical locations, like if they're in the same city or the same state. And that is a big piece of how we get it up. But I think most of the time it falls into the messaging and really the messaging. Yeah, you see, it's a little too direct, the messaging. So I'll bring this up and show this as an example. Give me 1 second, let me make the font here bigger. So the thing is that I'll show you why we're getting this. So when we're saying this is our message here. I'm an outsourced CFO. I help architects and engineers grow their business and increase cash flow. Sales. Versus this is what we're currently doing right now. People don't want to hear that because that's just, they can tell they're about to get sold, and so they shut down. So you want to say, hi, Bill. I see.
Oh, that's actually the message that I've got on my LinkedIn. You mean the message in
that you're sending to connect?
Sure. Let me find that. Right. Here it is.
Gotcha. So this is the one we are using. Let's see here. We are using this. I'm going to actually make this a little easier. Okay. So this one we're using. Hi, I came across your profile on LinkedIn. You also work in the A&E space, architecture and engineering.
Right. Yes.
Do they refer to it that way?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, it's not terrible. I would try to connect with second degree connections and say this. We have a lot of common connections. Would love to connect here if you're open to it. Like, it gives a reason that isn't necessarily related to sales. This one isn't as bad as the other one, but I do want to try a different message that has a reason that is just like networking. Got a lot of common connections. Or the other one was, hey, I see we're both in this group. Would love to connect here if you're open to it. You could do a search that way. Hey, we're both in this area, or hey, I grew up in this area, or any little reason that we can use to catch their attention. 10%, I know, you'll definitely be able to get that to 25%. Really, our aim is 40, but 10% is too low, much too low. If you do say that we have a lot of common connections, you got to make sure you're also only connecting with people that are second connections. But if you've been connecting with 50 people a week even, you should have quite a few second degree connections, honestly.
Sure.
So those would be the steps I would do, but that's definitely the biggest bottleneck at this point. It's just that 10% should be really 30, 40.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try that. Thanks.
Okay, absolutely. All right. We got Bernice has some questions. Bernice, you can unmute yourself whenever you're ready. One of her clients grossed $450K last year as a sole proprietor. Upon completion of his taxes, I propose we set him up as an S corp. Also calculate the maximum SEP IRA, SEP IRA to further reduce his taxes. Can't talk. Okay. I propose to charge him $4,500 for the tax planning and propose a reasonable compensation for him. Never responded. I'm confused. Thought it makes sense to let the client know the plan so they can see the value. Is my approach wrong? Can't talk. Okay. Well, how much specifically? 450K gross sales, right? But that's not really that relevant. What did they do for pre-tax income? Netted 350K. Okay. Now, how did you present this proposal? Over the phone, in person, in an email? How did they get the price from you? How did they get the price from you? Over the phone. Okay. Well, so, and I'll go kind of through this in a second. And so on that at SEP IRA, how much did that reduce the taxable liability? The S corp, I'm guessing, what was the reasonable salary? Like 75,000 a year. So on the next 50, that's 15%. That's 7,500 plus on 200. That's another 3% on that. 6. So what? 10, 15 grand? $24,000 saving on the S corp. Okay, 24K saving. And how many years, Bernice, had he been at that level of income? How many years? Oh, you'll save him 24K on the SEP. Okay, so this is 15, let's say. And so that's a tax savings of $40,000 a year, at least the 15. So yeah, the 4,500 is very reasonable, but did he know these numbers? Did he know that, well, and he'd been at this, how many years has he been at this income level? Only made 30K in 2015. Got you. So he really blew it up last year. And were you able to do this for last year, for 2016? Did you go back and do a special S election and make a special request, or is this for going forward 2017? Or what were you going to do? Gotcha. Okay. So you got to say, look, here's the thing, man. Honestly, looking at 2016, had you worked with me at the beginning of 2016, you'd have an extra $40,000 in your checking account right now. In fact, you've made the proper quarterlies. So, or really, rather, I should say the improper quarterlies. And so therefore, if you had been working with me, you'd be getting a $40,000 refund check in a few weeks. And if we don't work together this year, you told me you're looking to do 600 this year, it'll be even more. And so I know right now, working with me, I mean, I could probably charge you $20,000, $30,000 and it would still be worth it for you to work with me. But literally, today it's just the 4,500. There are really only two reasons why he did not decide to work with you, Bernice. Number one, he was not clear on the value, like the actual savings, that it was $40,000, right? Or number two, he didn't believe you. That's really it. Because that is a extremely reasonable fee for this work and this value. In fact, it might even be too low. You know, sometimes people will, you know, like I'm that way. Like if I want to buy something and the price is too low, like I'm instantly skeptical. Right? Like I'm like, okay, well, if it's cheap it probably doesn't work. I don't think you were that cheap, to be honest. But, you know, we do want to be careful. Like if somebody came and said, yeah, I can save you $40,000 a year, it's going to be $500 for tax planning, I'd be like, yeah, I don't even believe this person. But I think 4,500 is low, but reasonable. Yes, I will unmute you so we can talk this out. That would help a lot. Okay, you're unmuted on my side.
Hello, can you hear me, Andrew?
Hey, how's it going?
Fine. I'm sorry I couldn't talk. There was a lot of noise, so I stepped out.
No worries.
Okay. So this is my existing client, and I've been working with him now for like 4
You're
years.
getting a little bit of feedback on your side. It's not terrible. I think we can bear with it, but a little bit of static.
Can you hear me now?
Still a little bit of static, but yeah, I can hear you. We can fight through it.
Okay. Okay. So I guess my question is, I'm not really sure on how to do about the tax planning. Like, do you advise the client on what to do so they can see the value and then propose the price, or you just say, hey, look, I know of a tax strategy that will help you save blah, blah, blah. I mean, without going into details, and then propose a price. I'm not sure what to do when it comes to that, because it looks like the guy is going to go ahead and do it himself. And
yeah, so you want to be a little bit vague. So in this situation, you want to say, look, you want to leave it open and be vague, but you want to say this. You want to say, look, here's the thing. What I propose we do is a full-on tax plan. And that really involves me going in and looking at your life, your personal life and your business, and figuring out how we can reduce your tax liability. You did $358,000 pre-tax income last year. I know that on the phone right now, just based on looking at your entity structure and the way you're handling retirement, that you have lost bare minimum $40,000 in 2016 cash that should be in the checking right now. And so I know that, and that's without even looking at your return. That's without even kind of going through the whole process with you. I'd probably be able to find even more. And so what I recommend is that, you know, I know I'll be able to do at least 40,000 as of right now on the phone. But I recommend we go through and do a full tax plan, and I'll ask you a number of different questions and see if we can't get this down to a more reasonable point.
Yeah, I dropped the ball, I guess.
But do you see how I left that vague? But you see how, hang on, Bertie, so 1 second. I want to mute you for 1 second because I get a little bit of feedback. You see how that was vague, but specific in terms of the outcome, right? Because they just want to know they're going to save money. And you mentioned like ND structure and you mentioned retirement, but I never said SEP IRA. I never said S Corp. So he doesn't know exactly. And you could say, and honestly, like, I don't know exactly which retirement situation is going to work the best. I don't know what ND is going to work the best until we do a full engagement. It might be this, it might be that, it might not. I need to go through and do a full analysis, which requires an engagement. But I can promise you sitting here right now. And then if they decide at the end, you go through, you do the tax plan. You show them 2, 3, 4, 5 different strategies to save 20, 30, 50,000, whatever the case may be. And even if they decide not to take all of them, you've done your job. You've shown them how they can reduce it. Now, he might not want to do a SEP IRA for whatever personal reason. He might want to just hoard the cash like a little squirrel. But you don't have to get him to do it. You just have to propose the option for him to do it and show him that it's possible. Does that kind of make sense? You're unmuted now.
So before you propose, you have to let them know how much you will charge, right? You won't really go into details of what you need to do. That's basically what you're saying.
Well, you can't unless did you get a chance to review his return?
Yes, I did. I reviewed everything with him. I told him what we need to do. We need to set up the 401k, elect to the S corporation.
You got too specific.
Huh?
You got too specific is the problem.
Yeah, I did. And I think he's probably going to go ahead and do it on his own.
Yeah, which is funny, but you can say, well, yeah, you could do it on your own, but I mean, when you look at 2016, you did it on your own and you lost 40 grand.
Yeah.
That sucks.
He has no idea.
I'd like to get a boat. He could probably get like a little boat or a nice new car. I'd be like, oh, you're a realtor. Would you like a I don't know what you could get for 40 grand. What is that, like an Acura maybe? I don't know. Would you like a new Acura? Hey, I got you a new Acura. Like you basically, I mean, because he literally, by doing it on his own, lost 40 grand last year. And so I think, but the problem is, let me ask you this too. This is another thing I want to talk about with you. When you were in that moment, you said you met with him in person, you presented price. How did the conversation go? Did you ask for a deposit? Did we do a follow-up call?
No, this is my existing clients. Like you just send me the 1099s, via email. I mean, I've been doing these taxes for the past years, So when I found out this year it grows about 450,000, so I completed these taxes and I calculate what the maximum SEP IRA contribution will be.
Did you know he was growing throughout the year? Did he tell you that or no?
No, he didn't tell me that.
Okay, gotcha.
I saw the 1099, so he didn't tell me all that information. So I calculated the amount that he needs to contribute by April 15th to still be able to deduct.
See, here's the problem. Here's the problem you did, Bernice. Let me ask you this: so he's your existing client. He sent you all of his information, just to do the preparation for the current year.
Right, because this is sole proprietor. Like in the past years, it's been a sole proprietor. I mean, you only made about 25,000 per year.
See, this is a perfect example. This is when people are like, "Oh, Andrew, I don't want to grow during the busy season." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're crazy because this is exactly the example of how you just turn a preparation client into a $5,000 tax planning client." And yeah, I mean, you did a great job with the idea and the this is exactly what this guy needs. Like you're literally there to help him from himself. The problem is, I think, is that we just got a little bit too specific, and you did too much work at the beginning. So until and I know that you kind of are on the prep, so you're looking at some of this, but you have to sit down and say, look, I mean, I'll just prepare the return. Here's the fee, and we'll go and do that. But I know that if we don't do this planning, that you'll lose at least $40,000 in 2017.
Right.
But you also got to nail him down and say, look, I mean, does this sound like something that you do want to do?
I think the problem is I already told him what the maximum contribution will be for the SEP IRA, and he's going to make a call tomorrow to the bank and set that up and make that payment. Like, we already talked about the strategy and what he needs to do before I propose my fee.
But here's your problem is you're coaching before he's a paying client. See, that's why you can't give anybody advice before they pay.
Right.
That's why I say that in that strategy session script. No coaching on the call. Diagnosis and presenting how to help them.
How would he see the value if I don't lay it out? Like
I told you already, though. I said, look, here's the thing. I'm looking at your situation. You did $358,000 pre-tax income. I know we've got the wrong entity structure. I'm not sure exactly what we would do. I'd want to look at the full situation, personal and business, and where you're headed this year, and any partners or anything else that's going on. I'd also want to look at, and you told me a little bit, but I need to kind of look through everything and all the options. And from a retirement perspective, we need to go through and look at all the options as well. But I know, hands down, period, like no questions today, no matter what option we take, I know we can save you at least $40,000 this year in 2017.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. That's what I should have said. And
it's just true. And here's the reason why this doesn't even matter. Let's just say he doesn't want to do the SEP IRA. Okay, fine. He doesn't want to do it in retirement. He wants to hoard his cash like a squirrel. No big deal. We already saved him 15 grand on the S Corp. He paid us 45. That's a 3-to-1 hit. Walk away clean. You nailed it. That's perfect for him and for you. Everybody wins.
He was actually very excited. He said, I'm going to make the money right now for the SEP IRA. I didn't know I can save that much. Okay, I'm going to call my, financial advisor and do that right away. Like, he was really excited about it. Then when I told him about the fee.
Well, you basically performed the work, right?
Yeah.
Before you got paid.
Yeah, that really hurts.
Yeah, that's why, look, and the thing is you're not lying to the client. It's just like, the reality of it is that you're also doing him a disservice for another reason because, there might be other things, like we might want to look at some other things because how many times did you talk to him before you presented price?
Well, first I laid out, when I finished the taxes, I sent him an email with the draft copy of the tax return.
So you already finished his return for 2016 and then you presented tax plan for 17.
Then I did the SEP IRA contribution, what the tax liability will be after he made the
So you got to do
contribution.
this. You got to do this at the beginning. Like when you go through and you look at. So when anybody right now is going through, it's the busy season, right? You look at the person's situation for this year, and you're starting to say whether you do a little check-in call or they start sending you stuff. As soon as you realize, holy crap, that there is a tax planning opportunity right here, you've got to set up a call for a strategy session. And when you do that strategy session, you got to get payment for the prep and the planning. And
Well,
if you want to
he
get
paid
a split on the prep, that's fine. But yeah, you got to take that as an opportunity to set up the call, if that makes sense.
Actually, he already paid the prep. He paid $595 for the prep. That's his
Yeah, but he
normal
shouldn't
price.
have.
Right.
Because he shouldn't have, because you didn't. You got to do a full diagnosis before you charge anybody.
Right. I know.
You can't just have the same price for anybody, regardless of their situation. That doesn't make any sense. If it's services, So that's the biggest thing I think is, look, and the thing is, look, if you see somebody, it's the same situation as last year, guy made 30K last year, made 30K this year, I'm not like going to set up a strategy session. But if you start to sniff, holy crap, this guy made 360, he didn't do anything. We got a red alarm going off here. This guy's losing 40 grand. He's losing the guy literally lost like 4 grand a month.
Right. It's very painful.
It is.
But
It's a
then
good lesson though. Like that's why this time of the year is so
But
hot.
I know he's gonna come back and start asking me questions about the phone. I know he's still gonna come back and ask me questions, and then that's when I'm gonna snap back and say, "Look, I cannot share any more information with you."
No. Don't say that. Don't say that.
I shouldn't say that.
Well, here's what you want to say. Here's what you want to say. A guy comes back, starts asking questions.
Okay.
You say, he shoots you an email, right? You say, well, why don't we set up a time to walk through it? Okay, cool. Sets up the time, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever.
Okay.
And you kind of walk through it, and you start to say, so give me a bit of an update on where you're at. You've already filed the return. Obviously, he's got some questions he's reaching out to you about the tax planning. He starts telling you, oh, well, I just had a question about this. And you say, okay. And you go through and you say, well, I know we talked about doing the tax plan a few weeks ago. I mean, is that still something you're interested in?
Right. Okay. Good.
You don't want to be like catty about it where you're like, oh, I'm not going to tell you any more information. Well, the thing is right now, you want to be the adult when he's the child.
Okay.
Because he's like, ooh, I heard from you and you told me your thing and your price. And oh my gosh, I got so scared of money that I ran away. Right? Okay. He's being the child. You want to step in as the mature one, not in a catty way, but in a direct, like, hey, look, here's the thing, right? If it's a no, that's totally okay. But like I said before, I know if we did the tax plan, I'd be able to save you bare minimum $40,000, probably more. And the investment's $4,500. And so if we do want to go forward, let's do it. And if not, that's fine too. And I'll say, oh, well, I don't know, but I just had this question. I say, well, look, here's the thing is, in my situation, I'd love to help you here. And I wish that we would have done this last year together. If I'd have known you were growing this big, I would have set all this up last year, saved you 40 grand. I'm trying to do that to help you this year so you don't lose another 40. Really, with your growth projections, looking like 60. But unless I go through and do a full analysis, I don't know if we're going to set it up right. I don't know if we're looking at all the opportunities. And so I just need to know if we're seriously committed to this or not.
Okay.
And look, if not, that's fine. Like if people don't want to work with you, that's totally fine. But they don't get questions, they don't get meetings, they don't get advice, they don't get emails unless they pay.
Right.
And that's just kind of the nature of the beast. Like nobody wants to be treated that way. And so it's just, you're doing the right thing. And the reality of it is it's bad for him because he's just going to get these little snippets. He's going to do it all throughout the year. Oh, missed the S-election deadline because I didn't realize that it'd be done by April 15th because I didn't work for anybody on a tax plan. Now I have to do a special S-election. Oh, I did a special X-election, got denied because I don't know how to write the letter because I'm a fool.
Okay.
So it's like all these little things could come up for him. He needs help, but he won't take his own medicine. But you need to stop telling him as much. Stop telling him anything, nothing. Set up a call, don't tell him anything, and just drill him quietly and, don't try to sell him. The value's already there, right? And like I said, just be high level and vague and then be quiet. Make him try to make a decision.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, this is an awesome opportunity. I think you did a great job. I think the biggest thing is just fully diagnose at the beginning, and also be vague but specific. You're like, Andrew, how do you do that? This is a perfect example of how to be vague but specific.
Right. Okay.
So are there any other tax clients that you have right now that might be in a situation like this?
Not yet.
Okay, good. Well, keep looking, and as soon as one comes up when you're getting the initial stuff, don't file the return and don't work on the return until you've fully determined the full scope of the engagement.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great freaking example. I love that example because that is just a perfect example. I love it. That was awesome. So let me see. There's some other questions in here. Okay. All the way back up here. I think we got Greg Roller had one. Let me see here. Where is it? Oh, now I'm losing my spot scrolling. Okay. Oh, now somebody just wrote. Okay, hang on, guys. Give me 1 sec here. Okay. Greg Roller said, any advice for how to streamline the setup of my personal Facebook page? My page is completely follow since I never really use it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is even if you don't really use it that much, like I don't use my personal Facebook page that much. Every month or a couple of weeks, I'll post something or somebody else will post something about me or whatever, but I don't use it that much. But it's like authentically me. It's just who I am. It's my life. It's what I do. It's where I'm at. And so I don't like to push it and set it up. Like some people I know, even some people that have gone through the program, they will like make it all like marketing and salesy and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I just don't know. I think the whole point of the Facebook page, personal page, is that it's authentic and it's you. So yeah, I mean, I would make sure you have a picture of yourself, have a picture of your life, any friends, family, any stuff that you do every once in a while. And then if you have stories of yourself with clients, I know, Greg, you go to client sites a lot. Marketing agency people, I mean, they probably love to get a selfie, so it's like, I know it's a little bit weird sometimes for some people, but it's just make it natural, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, I don't have any photos out there at all right now. I haven't put anything out there. Had the page forever, but just never really used it.
Yeah, and it really isn't that big of a deal, but it is a big game changer when you're first talking to somebody that you don't know or you don't meet in person. It's like instead of a handshake, they're like friends on Facebook. But if it's like forced, I don't want to force it and make it look like LinkedIn, because then people are gonna be like, oh, they're just trying to get clients. But if you just friend them and you're not trying to get clients, they're like, oh, they're just trying to make friends. It's weird.
Okay.
It's a good thing. Like, it's weird how well it works. Like, because it's like a way where people are like, why? Like, I even have some people who are like, why does this person friend me? But they're like skeptical and simultaneously really curious. And so it just has this weird like lightning rod effect of like keeping you in their mind. And they also like stalk you, which is good.
Okay.
Yeah. So make it natural. Just like have a little bit of fun with it. Don't force it, and try to post something like every 2 weeks.
Okay. I haven't gotten the LinkedIn stuff yet, so that's the next phase. But I saw that I needed to have this if I'm trying to reach outside my market, and so I thought, okay, well, this is a gap. I got to fill it. So
you don't need to have Facebook set up before you do LinkedIn. I would actually go straight in your situation to the week 4 and just start implementing LinkedIn, and then after that do Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay. Cool. I guess I have one other question, not related to Facebook at all, if it's okay.
Go for it.
In the credit card setup, is there some reason why the PayPal is better than using Bill.com?
The only reason why I suggest PayPal is because it's so easy and quick to get set up. And also Bill.com, I'm not sure if they changed the way they do it, but it used to be kind of annoying for one-time payments as opposed to recurring. But Bill.com is great. A lot of people use that too. I think we mentioned that in there. But PayPal is just like super easy, low tech. You just have to enter in the credit card, the expiration date, I think, and the amount. I think that's it. You don't have to have like the address and everything. You don't need to get them to have a Bill.com account. You know, like, so yeah, I just think it's smooth and easy. Everybody's familiar with PayPal. They don't have to learn a new app. That's why I include it in the program. To be honest, most people use Bill.com or QuickBooks Payments or something like that. But I just don't, like, again, the program and the way I designed it is like, I want it to be quick. I don't want to have like, oh, I need to set up QuickBooks Payments and make sure that I've fully figured out the way to charge clients monthly and one time and annual recurring, and then that's integrated with the GL. It's like, I mean, that's just like a project that I'm not interested in. I just want to know how can we get the cash into our accounts. And that's the quickest way I know, with the lowest tech and the minimum information you need for the client. But in the long run, yeah, you definitely want to have other options. I mean, especially if you're working with monthly recurring clients, you do want to get them on ACH eventually. I generally recommend getting the credit card first for the first payment and any cleanup. You will have to pay the merchant fees, but with Bill.com, the merchant fees are much lower if you do ACH. They're almost non-existent, like $3 a transaction. But that's what the good part about that is. And once you have them as a client, it's pretty easy. Like, they paid, I'm working for them, we did cleanup, we got the first month. Okay, second or third month, let's get on ACH.
Okay, so now this raises a good question then. Because at Bill.com, I mean, the setup was kind of painful. I already had the account, but I didn't have the credit card account, and it was a lengthy process, and it was anyway. So I guess one of the questions I'm wondering is, you just said something about they have to have a Bill.com account to pay by credit card? Is that for real?
I don't know if that's the way it is. I think for ACH they do. I only have used Bill.com for ACH, so I think they have to have one for ACH. I'm almost positive.
Okay, but it's just,
I don't know
PayPal
about the credit card and the one-time charges, but PayPal is just so easy, and it's like the bare minimum information. Literally all you need is the number, the expiration date, and the amount, and it will almost always charge.
Okay. Do you ever you don't put courtesy fees or anything like that in your fees to recover the credit card payment, right? I mean, you just,
no. I mean, I just charge more. Yeah, I mean, just charge more. Like, I just assume it's like, look, the credit card fees are de minimis, really, if your fees are right. If you don't have good fees, then you're like worried about credit card fees. Who cares about credit card fees? When you make money, like when you have good fees on your clients, like, it's just a cost of doing business. Granted, if you've got, if you're doing, 50,000 monthly recurring, let's just get all that stuff on ACH, because we update it once. It's billed at the beginning of the month. We never have to worry about it. We will save a couple thousand a year. Okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, for most people, it's more important to get the client, get them to commit, get them to pay, than it is to save a couple bucks on merchant fees.
Right. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, and then the reason why I like the payment information with PayPal is because it's like everyone has a credit card. And if they say, oh, it's in the car or whatever, they're lying. Everyone has a credit card. And so, or a debit card, like that they can do. But not everybody knows their ACH.
Sure.
They have to go find that, and that's like a project, and then they don't have access to it, and then they're rethinking it, and then they're not sure about the pricing, and then, oh, but what about this person? Because they've got fees of $150 a month on their little table that they put on their website. It's like, oh my gosh, shoot me. But if you charge someone's card and they made a commitment to work with you, the engagement's done, the decision's done, they're in. They're not going to be looking around, surfing around somebody else's thing that says $150 a month for zero online. It's the coolest new thing ever. They're done. It's done. Everyone's done. Right. The moment the money hits, I don't even care about engagement letters, frankly. The moment the money hits, that is the moment that is the client. Now, people do back out after a day or two. That does happen with everything. But that's why I like the card, because it allows for an instantaneous decision and an instantaneous payment within an hour of talking to someone. It doesn't require that you send them an ACH form and then they have to log into their bank, which they might not even know how to do to get that and all that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I actually had the thing with Bill.com come up with a client. He balked when he had to put in all the information. He says, I'll just give you a check. Now, I don't know why, but for whatever reasons, that just happened literally this week. So yeah.
And see, that's like the worst. Then you're in the worst case scenario. So, and then you're like, oh, a check would be better than paying with a credit card. No, it would not be better. You're like, oh, I'll save a couple bucks on the fee. No. I tell you, I've had people pay me by check in the past. It literally will take like they're like, oh, they make the first payment on check. Okay, comes a couple days later, and then the next time, this is like, oh, it's like 3 months late. Like, no, we sent it in the mail. It got lost. It's just the most ridiculous stories. Check. Nobody should ever get paid by check. Nobody should get paid with somebody other than ACH or credit card. And yeah, I mean, in that situation, I would just say, well, why don't we just do Visa, MasterCard, or Amex? Just get it from them right there.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, that answers the question. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, like, I look at it from a psychological perspective. Like, the money, if you're charging the right fees, it's not going to matter. Like, you know, in Bernice's situation, it's like, look, if she would have sent that guy the ACH and then he would have had to go back to his bank and get it, and then he had a chance to rethink it, and then he wants to explore it on his own, talk to somebody else, versus just like right now, in the moment. That's why we do incentive-based pricing. That's why we ask directly if they want to get started. That's why we ask directly if they have any more questions. Like, it's good for both people, because what happens is like, people think selling is bad, like a dirty thing. It's like, you have no idea. Like, it's actually helping that person. Like, what's wrong with Bernice's situation, and I'm not going to beat up on you, Bernice, too bad, but because Bernice didn't go into this the right way, she lost herself money, yes, but she's also hurt her client. And so when you're selling someone something that they really need, you're doing them a service. Getting it done quick, getting them to make a quick decision, getting them to take action, getting them to commit to transformation, that is for their benefit just as much as it's for yours. And you not coming to the table, getting a quick decision, getting payment situated, nailing them down, getting them to commit, you not doing that is really a disservice to the client. That's the way I see it. All right. Karen says, I'm wrapping up week 1 and 2, going through the strategy session script. The niche I chose is new to me, and the accounting is industry specific, and I'm finding I do not know all the questions to ask. What research do I do to familiarize myself with the niche to get more confidence? What niche are we talking about, Karen? If you want to unmute yourself, you can. Otherwise, we can go in the chat. It's up to you. I think you tried to unmute yourself, but I can't hear you on my side. Yeah, I can't hear you on my side. You might have to either restart the GoToMeeting, try to log back in, or try to finagle the unmute on your side. But I'm not sure. See if you can't fix that. Raquel, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, we can talk this one out about the strategy session whenever you are ready. And then Karen, I'll come back to you if you can. I had a problem last time. Industry is plumbing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go through a little
I'm
bit
here.
of that.
Hi.
I'll go through a little bit of that after Raquel, Karen. But yeah, we'll have to figure out what's going on that computer. You can also call in from the phone if you go to the audio section and hit phone call, and it'll give you a number to call. Okay, yes, Raquel, how's it going?
Can you hear me? Oh, good, good. Okay, so just recapping. I had a strategy session on yesterday with a prospect. They're actually the husband and wife who are both physicians. One works as a partner for Kaiser, and she earns about $340 a year, and then the husband works as a sole proprietor. No, he owns an S corp, and he's expecting to generate about 600 to 650 this year. And so I estimated, just based on talking on the phone, I estimated that we estimated that his net profit, I think, was going to be like $400,000.
Oh, you still there?
Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear you now.
But essentially, they're both going to have pass-through or K1 income of over 700,000. So they also have rental properties and a number of really good. They're a really good candidate for a tax plan, and I estimate that I can save them at least 100,000 with everything that they're doing. And so the challenge, everything was going really well. And then the prospect was asking me to give her my price, and I needed to set up a follow-up call. So I didn't back down, and I didn't give in and tell her what the price was, but I was, I guess I wasn't really, she was just kind of harassing me to an uncomfortable point. And I mean, I know that I definitely want to work with her because, you know, I can save her money, and she's just really type A. But I don't know if there was anything else I could have done to maybe make it comfortable, or just really say, hey, here's the deal.
Well,
I
why
provide.
couldn't you give her the price? Did you want to fully look into their situation, or?
Well, yeah, because I mean, I didn't want to sell her a $7,500 training when I know I could probably charge her 15 or 20,000.
Right. Well, I think what I would say in a situation like that, and you can see how if you did something like this, I would say, because it was just her, right? Her husband was not there.
Yeah, he wasn't there. She was saying her husband's going to want to know the price. He's not going to get on the phone with me if he doesn't know it.
Hmm. Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, I had this exact same situation actually happen to me on Monday. And the person was kind of badgering me a little bit for the price. It was actually the husband, and the wife, was there. And I said, well, here's the thing is I'm more than happy to talk with you for a few minutes today. But just looking at your situation, I was saying this in your situation, I honestly think we'll be able to save you. I mean, bare minimum at this point, 55,000 if we were to do a tax plan every year, this year and every year going. Bare minimum, it's probably going to be a lot more than that. Let's be honest, right? But bare minimum. But I think in order for me to do my due diligence and for us to decide if we want to work together, I think what we need to do is I think I need to review your tax return from last year. And I think we should set up a follow-up call with you and your husband to walk through everything and see if it makes sense for us to work together. But I'd be hard-pressed to give you a price today because, one, I don't have all the information. And two, we also don't have all the decision makers. So I'd love to set up the follow-up call and go through your stuff.
Okay, so I did that, and I also said, in order for me to, spend time on reviewing. Yeah, I charge a $500 deposit, and she's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and schedule the meeting. And I was like, okay, well, let's tentatively schedule for this time. And I was like, I take the deposit by credit card over the phone. And then that's when she was like, wait, no, I'm not comfortable with that. Yeah, so I feel like I did everything right. I guess I would probably just need an approach for just moving forward, or
well, the first thing I would say is be careful the language that you use. So when you say I take credit card over the phone, I'd be careful saying that. I never say that. The reason is because it sounds aggressive and it sounds like you're like over the phone and it's also a credit card. I always just say, okay, well, and for the deposit, we just do Visa, MasterCard, or Amex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now that is subtle. No, that's subtle. That sounds a lot softer, right? Okay, so that's important. That's one thing. The second thing is when that kind of thing happens, you have to resort to unbelievable levels of silence. And so when someone says that, like, oh, I don't feel comfortable, I mean, I would not ever respond to that. Because I'm not going to try. At that point, they're uncomfortable. The last thing they want to hear is me speak. That's going to make them even more uncomfortable. They're just going to shut down.
Okay.
So what you really have to do is just literally bite your tongue, put the phone on mute if you have to, and wait for them to ask something like, so what do we do next?
Okay.
And then you say, well, yeah, I guess, what is your hesitation on doing the deposit? Or what is your hesitation on doing the fully refundable deposit? Oh, I just don't know you. You're over the phone there. Okay. I would just be quiet again. You just have to be quiet. Why? Because at that point you've lost it. And the only way to regain it is just to get them to be like, what the heck is going on? This person's like not even trying to sell me. And in the silence, they kind of feel like oddly like better. Because they're like, well, this person's clearly not like aggressive and trying to just get me. They're just like, they have a process, and you won't always close it. But to be honest, this is the mark of a very bad client in a variety of different ways. They've got a great income situation, but the attitude and the smugness and the inability to do a fully refundable $500 deposit with a pre-tax income of $700,000 a year to potentially save $50,000 to $100,000 a year on a tax plan is the mark of a very, very bad client. That being said, I think if we were to look back at this, you might try to go for the group meeting more towards the beginning of the call. It's up to you. Some people do that where they only want to talk to all the decision makers. I think when I'm already on the call, I blocked out the hour. I have no problem talking to someone for 20 or 30 minutes, but I will hold back price until my last dying breath. I'll never give it to them until all the decision makers are there. And so, because that's why they're on the call. They're like, oh, I want to tell my husband the price. It's like, I'm not going to let her go back and tell her husband the price when her husband has no idea what it is. She's going to present it in some cockamamie way, not know anything that's going on. And so, yeah, I mean, and if you wanted to get 15 or 20,000, the only way you're going to be able to do that is if everybody's on the call anyway. But I think you did it right. I think this person's just troubled, which is part of the reason why they're overpaying hundreds of thousands of dollars every year in taxes.
Well, what I think she was also trying to do was she wanted to get into a negotiation thing because she mentioned that there was another tax consultant who had reached out to her. I mean, it's funny because based on the description, I know who she's talking about. So, and I mean, you know, I'm
Are
I don't
they
want to be
doctors?
arrogant,
Are they
but-
doctors?
Yeah.
You got to say, listen, here's the thing is, you and I both know that if you go in and you start prescribing the exact medication that someone needs to have without doing a full investigation of their health situation, that is malpractice. And
I love that.
I honestly could give you a price right now, but that, in my opinion, based on how much you guys are currently doing in income and the complexity of your situation, that would literally be malpractice for my practice.
I love that.
I am more than happy to work with you, but this is how it had to be.
Okay. Now, you mentioned yesterday that I should call her just out of the blue. Do you think I should still do that or send an email?
No, emails can't. Nothing happens with an email. Yeah, I would definitely call.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, I generally don't recommend you call in these situations, but when you feel like a really good one got away, it's worth it. What do you have to lose? Nothing. And you regain your sense of power and control. And I would still, on that call, nail her down to do a deposit.
She has a CPA, so she's not looking for, any long-term relationship, which is kind of ideal.
Well, and I would tell her, I would say, I feel like things ended a little abruptly last time, and I apologize for any role I played in that, but I wanted to see if today we couldn't reconsider, because I honestly think, like, did they make a lot of money last year, but they didn't do this?
Well, this is his first year as an S Corp. So last year they did 600, and then this year they're projecting. I think last year they did 600, and then this year they're projecting about 150,000 more.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, so they lost some money last year on something, right? So they've lost some already. I mean, I think the best chance you have, like, what we all have to remember is if you are talking with a potential client and you really want to get the yes or you want to get the deposit, the key is to somehow flip it and focus on them. That's why I went with the medical practice thing, because if you start talking about your process and how you need a deposit to conserve your time, they're like, yeah, I don't care about you. You have to flip it on them and somehow try to figure out a way to tie it in. For you, you happen to be very lucky with the medical practices. I mean, with construction, you could say the same thing about quoting a job before you've really looked at everything, right? So you want to try and flip it on them somehow to get them to understand it in a metaphor. And I think that's what I would try when you follow up on a call with her. But again, on the follow-up call, use extreme levels of silence as well. Like, make her talk more than you, even though you're calling.
Yeah, I'll remember that. No, this is good feedback. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions at this point?
Nope. I'll let you know how it goes.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah, that's the gem. You should use that on a lot of, basically, Raquel, if you do a strategy session with someone who has a medical practice and they're not going to go forward with a deposit, you pull that puppy out. That'll definitely turn some.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll be using that. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so I know, Karen, in your situation, we couldn't get the phone. I'm not sure if we figured that out. Looks like you're trying to unmute on your side still, but still can't hear you. So yeah, with plumbing, well, Karen, I think that honestly is a mindset thing, because you've already got a plumbing client, don't you? And how big is that plumbing client? Their annual sales. $500,000 a year. Good. Look, you're good. That's enough. You've had enough experience working with them. You've got a paying client in the niche. You don't know everything, but the way we do the strategy session is I don't require that you know everything. Not at all, because there's so many of you, I did a webinar earlier today. Somebody was like, yeah, but you need to know what you're doing, how to sell yourself. I'm like, I don't want anyone selling themselves. I mean, if you drop a bomb that, like in the situations we were talking about earlier, where we've really clearly defined how much we can help them. Now, those were tax examples. This might be accounting examples, but it's all the same. If you show them that you can save them time or save them money or make them money, and you just drop that, then they'll want to buy. So I think in your situation with the plumbers, I think that's a mindset thing. I think you are ready, Karen. I think you have enough experience. You've got a paying client in the niche. I think we're ready to go. I think we need to get out there, start talking to these people. And if you mess them up, I don't care. I really don't care. You know, when I was in college, I had a professor once that said, oh, your reputation's everything. Your reputation's everything. You know, and that saying was said, I think a lot of people probably heard that when they were growing up and as kids and over the years, and, oh, your reputation's everything, your reputation's everything. Look, I'm not saying you want to go out and ruin your reputation, but the idea that your reputation is sacrosanct, and if you get on a call and you look like a fool to someone in the industry, I mean, everybody does that. That's just par for the course. I mean, I look like a fool basically every day, every other day I mess something up. All the time I look like a fool. So yeah, I mean, I make mistakes all the time, but I'm out there trying to make magic happen. And I don't care if I look like a fool. It's more important for me to win than it is to look cool. And I'm not saying you want to look cool. I'm just saying, like, you know, make the mistake. So I think let's get out there and do it. I think you're as ready as you're ever going to be. There is no blog post or book that's going to teach you how to be the best accountant for plumbers. There are two things that are going to help you learn how to better serve your clients. Fundamentally, number one, doing strategy sessions with them and learning more about them, learning their language, learning their pains, asking them questions. What's holding them back? Where are they at? What do they need to get to? What do they need to do to get to the next level? That's number one, doing strategy sessions with the niche. Second thing that's going to help you is getting them as paying clients, then actually doing the work, figuring out how to make it better, improve your process, improve your value, look for opportunities where you can charge more because it's worth it for them and they'll save time or make or save money. Doing strategy sessions and working with clients are the absolute best ways to get better at serving the niche. And everybody wants to hear that, you know, you can prepare, there's a blog post or something. It's like nobody was like, oh my gosh, you know, my whole life was plodding along. And now I'm just ranting at Karen because, you know, you're not here to defend yourself. I'm just teasing. But, you know, everybody wants to hear that, like, you know, well, one day I was plodding along and, you know, I was kind of struggling through things, you know, here and there, a little bit of momentum. Okay, but I want to do better. Okay, boom, boom, boom. And then I read this blog post and bam, my whole life changed on a blog post. And then I got all the information I need to feel comfortable and move forward like a valiant soldier succeeding at life's greatest, you know, game. But really, it just doesn't exist. It's going to be bad. It's going to be uncomfortable. And I think, Karen, in your specific situation, based on what I know about you and your background and the fact that you already have a paying client in the niche, you are ready. And the anxiety that you feel will go down over time, but I think it's as low as it needs to be to get started. So let's get out there and do it. And we can talk about that as well once we get this thing fixed on the phone call or next time you come on, or we can talk about it one-on-one, but I think you're ready. I a little bit of a rant there. Got a little off track. Let's see what else. We got some other questions. Let me see here. All right, Lydia Norman. You can unmute yourself whenever you're ready. Question about LinkedIn, having a mental block. Uh-oh.
Yeah, can you hear me?
How's it going?
I'm good. So my niche is like small manufacturers. I have actually employment experience in that niche. And so what I was wondering is, like in our LinkedIn profile, you had suggested that we use some like numbers, timelines, things like that are specific to the niche. Would it be perfect for me to use some of those accomplishments that I had on the job in those niche as accomplishments, or, you know, should it be something just specific to clients?
I think, you know, kind of going back to the big picture principles, I think focus on the how that could help them, and that, and we want to word it in a way where it's like, it's clear that you've done it because you're using the language, and it's clear that it's related to manufacturing and that they could achieve it. But I don't want it to indicate that you did it while you were in a job.
No, I wouldn't word it that way.
Then absolutely, yeah. Just focus on the outcome and the experience they could get from working with you. And if it's from stuff that you learned when you did a job, absolutely, let's put it on there because it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you can do it. Yeah, and we can just word it in a way where they kind of think it was through the practice, but it was really through the job. But at the end of the day, all that matters is if we can get the result.
Okay, because I have to say, during week one, you gave us the advice to go out and look on blogs and things like that, and because, like I said, I've been in that manufacturing for a really long time, I kind of knew the problems that I encountered that were consistent through every manufacturing company that I worked for. And just looking out and looking at blogs and information, it just confirmed that it's pretty much every manufacturing company that has those pains, and so it really, reinforced for me, yeah, I was picking the right thing. So I appreciate that advice.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. And yeah, send it over. I'll take a look at it once we get that on there.
Okay. And then the other quick question that I have about the LinkedIn profile too is that I just kind of have a mental block too about like writing about myself. About what I do, what I'm good at. Because I've done so much. How do I really kind of narrow that down to, something that's succinct,
Yeah, well, try to think about it more like not writing about yourself, but writing about like your clients more. Like, what could they get? What could happen to them? How could they change? Like, how could a manufacturer that's doing $3 million a year in sales, like, what would be different? What would they be able to experience through working with you? Yeah, typically, like, I really try as much as possible for people to focus on the client's transformation, problems, outcome, rather than your story, your background. They don't care about that. Like, literally, they don't care about that at all. It's like they just want to know that it works and that you can help with that problem that they're having. Yeah, I actually used an example in the webinar I did today that, like, as long as you can clearly show them that you understand them, which you can in your situation, I think in the writing, because you've done the job, you've worked there, you've got employment experience. If you can mention keywords and things that you'd only know if you were in manufacturing, on how you can save them time and how you can save them money, or how you can make them money. Like, if you can get any specific stories or examples and frame it towards their business and how that could work for them, that's what they care about. They don't care about us. They just don't.
Okay.
So I think that's the biggest thing I would say is try to focus on them and send it over. I'll take a look at it.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Angel said, what about using a traditional merchant processor service through your bank? Never used it. Not sure. Could work. I think that was from the conversation we were having earlier. Does anybody else have any questions? It's 6:31, been on the call for about an hour and a half. I'm happy to stick around for another 20 minutes or so. I think I have, let me check my calendar here. I think I have a call at 7 Eastern. Let's see. But I'm happy to stick around. Yep, I have a call at 7 Eastern, but I'm more than happy to stick around. Angel says, yes, I got a better rate through my bank, although it took about a week to set up. Cool. Does anybody have any questions for today? Happy to stick around for another 20, 25 minutes. Well, I am happy to wrap this one up early, but I'll stick around if we have any other questions. I guess I'll just do a last call on questions for today. If anybody has any questions, just let me know in the chat. I think the biggest takeaway I take from this call today is, like, going back to that example that we went through with Bernice. If I can find it. Yeah. Whenever I say be vague but specific when you're on these strategy sessions, it's like, what does that mean, Andrew? Vague but specific. What I mean is be specific on their outcome, what they're going to get. They're going to save $40,000 at least if they work with Bernice on a tax plan. Be specific on the outcome, but be vague on how you're going to get there, the process through which you get there. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Because if people start hearing that, they're going to get what's called the feature brain. It's like what the whole world does, especially the accounting profession for crying out loud, does with apps. Like, oh, this feature and that feature. And you log in, you get your free trial, and you start looking at all these little features, and then you get all the reasons why it sucks, and it's not there yet. And you start complaining to support, and then you start sending a thing that should be better, could do this. If it did this, it'd be amazing. The feature brain. Start thinking about all the reasons why it won't work or why it should be different. And do you believe it? Can you do it yourself? But if you're just vague, then they kind of don't know, and they just think that, well, they have to work with you to get it done, which is the truth anyway. So keep the focus on them, what they're actually going to receive in terms of outcome, but be vague about the process through which you have to go through to get the result. That is irrelevant. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, honestly. I think that was an awesome example. And yeah, so keep crushing it out there on the strategy sessions. If anybody has any questions for me, do not hesitate to reach out. You can ping me on Facebook, post in the Facebook group, shoot me an email, and I will talk with the rest of you. I think the call is the same time on Thursday. I'll actually be in Manhattan on Thursday, but I will be doing the call at the same time, noon on Thursday, and I look forward to talking with you all then. Have a great rest of your week, everybody.